Sir Clive Sinclair dead. Tributes flood into one of the 20th century's great genius inventors, with Prof Brian Cox among those saluting him for sparking their interest in tech. The inventor and entrepreneur passed away at his home in London this morning. His daughter Belinda, 57, revealed that the entrepreneur had passed away today. He was famed for bringing computers into people's homes with his ZX Spectrum. He also created the pocket calculator, but his C5 electric trike flopped in the 80s. Tributes have been paid to home computing pioneer Sir Clive Sinclair after he died, aged 81, following a long illness. Professor Brian Cox led commemorations to the tech legend, who brought computers into people's homes with his ZX Spectrum. Prof Cox posted on Twitter saying the Z81 was my first introduction to computing, adding, "I loved it." Video game giants who were inspired by Sir Clive also paid tribute, saying they would not have gone into the industry without his creations. The inventor's daughter, Belinda Sinclair, revealed last night he had passed away in his London home earlier in the day. She hailed a rather amazing person who was so clever and always interested in everything. Sir Clive was famed for bringing computers into people's homes with his ZX Spectrum, which proved inspirational for today's games industry bosses. They learned the craft on his creation or its rival, the Commodore 64, when they were growing up. Sir Clive also invented the pocket calculator. Sinclair became the first company in the world to sell more than 1 million computers, making Sir Clive a household name. Despite many successes during the inventor's life, he failed to revolutionize transport with the Sinclair C5. The battery-powered trike was launched in 1985, with him expecting 100,000 sales in the first year, but it tanked, and Sinclair vehicles went into receivership that year. He also hit the headlines in recent years for his failed marriage to a leptoncer 36 years younger than him. Professor Brian Cox said, "Sad to hear that Clive Sinclair has died. The Z81 was my introduction to computing, and I loved it. Started out with a 1 version and eventually saved up for a 16-gram pack. Thank you, Clive." Retro Gamer magazine posted, "Sir Clive Sinclair, the creator of the ZX Spectrum, has passed away. His influence on the UK games industry was huge. How many of today's developers coded on one of the machines he developed?" Video game developer Steve Pickford wrote, "Another hand up, here is someone whose whole career path was massively influenced by Sir Clive Sinclair. Along with most of the UK games industry, oldies at least, I always wanted to draw comics as a kid, but got sucked into doing computer game graphics via the ZX Spectrum." Director of Publishing Strategy at Epic Games Sergey Galyunkin wrote, "I got into games because of the affordable computer kits Sir Clive Sinclair pioneered. Unlike other options, ZX Spectrums were an open book, easy to assemble and modify, and extremely simple to program." He added, "They even booted into BASIC by default, prompting users to start creating." Film director Edgar Wright, who directed Baby Driver, Hot Fuzz, and Shaun of the Dead, put, "For someone whose first glimpses of a brave new world were the terrifying graphics of 3D Monster Maze on the Z81, I'd like to salute tech pioneer Sir Clive Sinclair. He made 21st century dreams feel possible. We'll bash away on the rubber keys of a Spectrum in your honor. RIP." Dr. Andy Palmer, who launched the Nissan Leaf and was CEO of Aston Martin, said inventor Sir Clive Sinclair, who popularized the home computer, invented the pocket calculator and the C5 EV, an inspiration to a generation. Tom Watson, a former deputy leader of the Labour Party, tweeted, "This man changed the course of my life. And arguably, the digital age for us in the UK started with the Sinclair Z80, when thousands of kids learned to code using 1 GB of RAM. For us, the Spectrum was like a Rolls-Royce with 48. Comics writer Tony Lee said, "Gutted to learn that Sir Clive Sinclair has died. My first computer was a Z81. And I can honestly say that without my first paid writing job as a Your Sinclair Games reviewer in 1987, I wouldn't be where I am today." Screenwriter Gary Whitta put, "Sir Clive Sinclair has died. One of the 20th century's great genius inventors, and a true father of the modern computing age. I'm not sure I'd be where I am today were it not for his ZX Spectrum igniting my love of computers and games. Rest in peace." Writer Julian Rignall posted, "Sad to hear that pioneering technologist Sir Clive Sinclair died today. His groundbreaking ZX Spectrum and Z81 home micros helped kickstart the British computer industry and usher in a new era of interactive entertainment. His products inspired and delighted millions." Former presenter of Channel 4's video gaming program Games, Master Dominic Diamond wrote, "All your UK video game companies today were built on the shoulders of giants who made games for the ZX Spectrum. You cannot exaggerate Sir Clive Sinclair's influence on the world. And if we'd all stop laughing long enough to buy the C5, he'd probably have saved the environment. Wire Productions, which makes indie video games, wrote, "Hugely sad news that British computing pioneer Sir Clive Sinclair has passed away. The ZX Spectrum was the start of my lifelong love affair with video games, and it is wonderful to see so many gamers reminiscing about him, his machines in all those games." DJ, a social media pioneer Jonathan Mortar said, "Sad to hear that Sir Clive Sinclair has died. He was the one who got me into the world of gaming back in the 80s. I still haven't completed Jet Set Willy either." Writer Jared Petty put, "Sir Clive Sinclair died. It is impossible to exaggerate the monumental effect he had on the computer and game industries. He kicked down the door to affordable computing in the UK and created a hobbyist software playground and mainstream game marketplace that defined a generation." Sir Clive's daughter Belinda, 57, revealed last night he had passed away in his London home earlier in the day. She told The Guardian he was a rather amazing person. "Of course, he was so clever and he was always interested in everything. My daughter and her husband are engineers, so he'd be chatting engineering with them." She added, "It was the ideas, the challenge, that he found exciting. He'd come up with an idea and say, 'There's no point in asking if someone wants it, because they can't imagine it.'" Born near Richmond, Surrey, Sir Clive was the son and grandson of successful engineers. His family home was bombed during the Second World War, and his father found a house in Bracknell in Berkshire for him, his brother Ian, and sister Fiona. Sir Clive designed a submarine aged just 14 and spent the holidays away from Boxgrove Preparatory School in Surrey teaching himself new ideas. He was good at maths as a student, having moved to Reading School, Highgate School, and St. George's College, Weybridge, due to his father's money woes. He left education at 17 and became a technical journalist for 4 years to make enough money to start Sinclair Radionics, age 22. He would make mail-order radio kits, including the smallest transistor radio in the world. One of his first creations in the 1970s was a number of compact calculators that could fit into people's pockets at a time when most were the size of a shop till. For this, he was dubbed an electronics wizard. Other ventures included expansions into digital watches and the development of the world's smallest television set. The inventor made his first home computer in 1980, called the Z80, which transformed the market. It cost just PS $79.95 and undercut its competitors in the rest of the market by about 1/5, selling 50,000. But he pushed down the price again with his next model, the Z81, which was priced at just PS $69.95. selling 250,000. These proved the inspiration for many of today's video games tycoons, with them growing up playing 3D Monster Maze and Mazogs. They also proved the starting blocks for his huge fortune, with him making PS 14 million in just 2 years and well over PS 100 million at the peak of his powers. Sir Clive produced the ZX Spectrum 48K in 1982, which had numerous faults such as poor visuals and sound, but proved popular with games such as Jet Set Willy. He was knighted for his efforts in 1983 to Queen's birthday honors and quickly became a household name with his eponymous company. Despite the huge successes, he failed to revolutionize transport with his Sinclair C5 battery-powered trike. The machine was launched in 1985, and Sir Clive expected to flog around 100,000 in the first year. But it tanked. Sinclair Vehicles was plunged into receivership by the end of the year, and customers raised safety concerns with it. He also failed with his pocket TV, the Sinclair TV80, but his vision proved helpful for today's inventors, with small screens frequently used. Sir Clive went on to sell his computer firm to rival Sir Alan Sugar's electronics company Amstrad a year later. Despite his numerous inventions, he did not use them himself, with Belinda saying he never had a pocket calculator and did not use computer. In his personal life, Sir Clive was fascinated by poetry, running marathons and poker, with him featuring in the late-night poker TV series. Due to his extraordinary intellect, he was also a member of British Mensa, the largest IQ society in the world, and had an IQ of 159. He gained honorary doctorates from Bath University, Heriot-Watt University, and Warwick University, and was a fellow at Imperial College London. Sir Clive was married twice, first to Anne Trevor Briscoe, who he split from in 1985, then Angie Bonus, who he divorced in 2017. MS Bonus, a former lap dancer, was 36 years his junior, and the millionaire stayed with her for 7 years. But in 2017, he rekindled his relationship with his devoted former secretary Elaine Miller. For 25 years the pair had an on-off relationship, but it ended when Sir Clive met Ms. Bonus at Stringfellow's nightclub where she worked as a dancer named Paris. They married in Las Vegas in 2010, and afterwards Lady Sinclair announced she was over the moon. When asked about the separation, the former model burst into tears saying, "I can't talk about anything right now. I'm so sorry, I just can't comment," Sir Clive said at the time. Following a prolonged hospitalization in 2016, Sir Clive filed for divorce before his discharge from the hospital. The divorce became final in January 2017. Financial settlement proceedings are ongoing, and Sir Clive has asked that he be allowed to conduct this matter in private. Prior to his marriage to Angie, Ms. Miller helped Sir Clive run his business, and the pair once lived in adjoining flats in the building on Trafalgar Square. She accompanied him to public events, and he was said to have showered her with expensive gifts. But after his 2010 wedding, Sir Clive and Ms. Miller did not speak, and she moved to a flat in Harrogate. In 2016, Lady Sinclair resigned as a director of Sinclair's company, and a home rights notice was placed on the couple's PS5 million central London home. This prevented Sir Clive from selling the property without her consent. Lady Sinclair was previously married to businessman Mark Thornton, with whom she had a son, but they broke up just months after his birth. While married to Sir Clive, she divided time between London and a house in Nottinghamshire which she shared with her mother Shirley. After 23 years of marriage, Sir Clive divorced his first wife, Ms. Trevor Briscoe, with whom he had 3 children. In 1985, Sir Clive leaves behind Belinda, his sons Crispin, 55, and Bartholomew, 52, as well as 5 grandchildren and 2 great-grandchildren.